You know, there was a comment on one of my fighting game videos recently, and it made me realize something. I've really been ignoring some of the low-hanging fruit when it comes to this search for the worst fighting game thing that I do. I guess I put off some of the more obvious ones because I wanted my search to be a bit more interesting and different, to go for stuff I hadn't really heard of before instead of the most obvious picks one could go for. Today, though, that will change, because we're going to review one of the best-known bad fighting games. One, if you're familiar with fighting games or just bad games in general, you've most likely heard of. That game is
Kasumi Ninja.
Kasumi Ninja, the Atari Jaguar powerhouse fighting game. Kasumi Ninja arrived just in time to ruin Christmas 1994. This was actually the first fighting game on the Atari Jaguar, fun fact. Kasumi Ninja was developed by Handmade Software and published by Atari, of course. Looking at Kasumi Ninja, the immediate comparison one can draw is completely obvious. With its digitized actors serving as the characters and the copious amounts of blood, Kasumi Ninja is a pretty blatant ripoff of Mortal Kombat. Well, perhaps I should be a bit more kind and say it draws heavy inspiration from Mortal Kombat instead. After all, a game can take inspiration from trendsetters in the genre and still be good. Look at TMNT Tournament Fighters on the SNES. Pretty obvious SF2 ripoff, but still a great game in its own right. Kasumi Ninja isn't one of those games, though. It's a blatant MK ripoff. Upon entering the game's menus, you'll be greeted with a fairly standard fighting game spread, one-player arcade ladder, two-player versus, a difficulty slider, and options, of course. Heading into the options, of course, the only really interesting option here is the gore meter, because the violence in this game might be a little too intense for the weak-minded children of the 90s. This meter goes from none to combat levels to disturbing to gore-fest. As a man who loves his video game violence, I've obviously kept the gore-fest level. It just makes sense for me. You also have the option to set a parental lock for those parents out there who are just so worried about their sensitive little children seeing all this hardcore violence. The story of Kasumi Ninja is told via a text scroll that pops up if you're AFK from the menu for long enough. Basically, there's a small, well-hidden island out there that's kept secret by some higher beings called the Preeminent Celestials. They keep the island shrouded in a fine mist. This island also produces the best ninja in the world for some reason. These ninja are trained by the three elders, Hiei, Kao, and Yaku. These three represent good, indifference, and evil, and their balance keeps the portal to the Netherrealm closed. Till the evil ninja, Yaku, killed the other two, which opened the portal and threw the balance of the world all out of whack. Now, it's up to you to kill Yaku and restore balance to the world, since apparently you've been preordained by the Celestials to do so. But first, you must defeat the best fighters in the world to train yourself for the upcoming Yaku battle. After they are defeated, then, and only then, may you challenge the evil ninja master himself. Jumping into the game itself, you'll initially only have two characters available to play as, the ninja brothers Senzo and Habaki, the rest unlocking after you defeat them in combat. Annoyingly, you have to defeat the character you want to play in every playthrough. They aren't unlocked forever after you beat them once, which is a mild annoyance, in truth. There also isn't a traditional select screen. Instead, you have to roam around this dungeon and walk up to the statue to select your fighter. A nice little touch with this system, though, is that each fighter also has a little bio you can access to learn just a little bit more about them, which these bios are truncated versions of the longer ones featured in the game's manual. I can't lie, though. I feel like it would have been better to load in the character's special moves here, but I like the lore regardless. After you defeat an opponent, their statue turns into a spooky skeleton. As for who to select first, well, it doesn't really matter because Senzo and Habaki are near identical. Barring their outfit colors and fatalities, they share normals and specials too. And you thought palette and head swaps were lazy. At least Street Fighter had unique looks for their Shotos, and MK had unique specials for their ninja. Anyway, let's get into the meat of this game and discuss mechanics as well as gameplay. Kasumi Ninja is a 3-button fighter. 1 button for punch, 1 for kick, and 1 for specials. This is a 3-button fighter on this controller, for reference. Similar to Mortal Kombat at the time, you have additional attacks that are executed by pressing a directional alongside your attack buttons. These include a roundhouse kick, a sweep, and an uppercut too. Though I hesitate to call this a sweep since it doesn't automatically knock down like you would expect it to. I think the worst part of Kasumi Ninja here is the lack of consistency. If you ever played Mortal Kombat 1 or 2, you know that roundhouse knocks people back and down, sweeps knock them to the floor, and uppercuts pop them up. Kasumi Ninja seems to have none of this. Sweeps just kind of knock them back, and roundhouses only stagger them for a second. Sometimes characters get dropped, but most of the time they don't. Consistency, please, game. It'd help a lot. Blocking is done via holding back from your opponents, so this game isn't a total clone of Mortal Kombat. Someone on the dev team probably played Street Fighter. Your specials, though, do have consistency, so that's good. Speaking of them, we return to the same mechanic that was prominently featured in Street Fighter 1, Negative Edge. edge. To execute your specials in Kasumi Ninja, you need to hold down the special button, do the motion, and then release the special button, which works okay. You can definitely get into a rhythm and be able to fairly consistently get your specials to come out. Unless you're in a pinch, like getting stuck in a corner, in which case you're gonna have to rely on your normals to get out of there because you'll be panicking too much to do the negative edge properly. Which you do want your specials to come out since they're definitely the strongest parts of your moveset. Since I played one of the ninja, I'll break their moveset down for you really quick. It's only 3 moves after all. The fireball hits decently hard and staggers your foe back, leaving them vulnerable to more fireballs. The AI also just seems to walk into these things without even thinking, on normal or ninja god. Your teleport is also very useful since it can get you out of the corner instantly, and it has a pretty simple up-up input to execute. And your Tatsu is great because it's totally invincible and it advances you towards your opponent a shit ton. Now I imagine other moves aren't as good as these. I didn't play the whole cast obviously, but still pretty strong. How does all this work? Like shit, because Kasumi Ninja plays like absolute ass. Calling this game stiff would be an understatement. Every normal feels so rigid and jerky. They're all poorly animated too, so it's just all a nightmare to play, really. Smooth, fluid animations are what make a fighting game playable. That's why I rib NRS games so often. Forcibly tying your specials to negative edge doesn't help with that awkward stiffness either. If you've ever played a fighting game, the ability to execute your specials with minimal issues, especially if they're ones critical for zoning or reversals, is tantamount to being a good fighting game, which fluid attacks and specials are something Kasumi Ninja is critically lacking. For reference, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and Street Fighter 1 and 2 came out before this game, so it's not like they couldn't not do the negative edge stuff. They just decided to tie all the special moves to negative edge for some reason. Sound-wise, Kasumi Ninja is definitely lacking. Strikes and combat sounds and grunts are just kinda eh. I hate to keep going back to MK comparisons, but the hits in MK were strong, violent, and pretty wet sounding. As opposed to Kasumi Ninjas, which are just... Visually, Kasumi Ninja is just kind of meh as well. I will compliment the parallax scrolling for the backgrounds. I actually think those do look kind of nice, but otherwise everything's just kind of okay looking. The music is also just kind of inoffensive. I think the best word might be to describe it. Let's talk characters now. Kasumi Ninja has quite possibly the most bizarre collection of fighters I've ever seen in a fighting game. It's a strange mix of characters from all over time. I'm not really sure. The timeline in this game seems very wibbly-wobbly. As mentioned earlier, the Ninja brothers Senzo and Habaki are your 2 starter characters, but Kasumi Ninja features 6 other warriors to play as. Kickboxing superstar Chaggy is another of these fighters, possibly a toss-up to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Chaggy has never lost a match and is probably the most normal character amongst this cast of weirdos. Next up is Alaric, King of the Goths. Yes, that Alaric. You know, the one that sacked Rome? Thus, this game does pluck warriors from all over time. For some reason. Lesser known fact about Alaric, King of the Goths, is his ninja background, as he is able to do the ninja slide every ninja in the Mortal Kombat series can do. He was also the progenitor of the rich white woman sweep. Thundra, Queen of the Amazons, an anti-industrialist naturalist who exists to push out the assholes that are trying to destroy the Amazon rainforest. Why she's entangled in this Kasumi Ninja stuff, I'm not entirely sure. Bring out a dog! Comanche War Chief Pakawa is our next fighter, a fierce warrior who trained an elite war band of Native American fighters to fend off the white settlers encroaching upon their lands. Before you ask, yes, his fatality is scalping his foes. The 90s. Danja is a top-of-her-class lawyer turned street vigilante after she realized how corrupt the justice system in the US was, so she's resorted to murder instead. And lastly is Angus McGregor, a Scottish blacksmith and brawler who just loves to fight and wants to fight strong opponents. He's most notable for the crotch fireball. I don't know what that says entirely, but I'll stop thinking about it now. Like I said earlier, this is probably the weirdest bunch of fighters ever assembled in a fighting game. Anyway, you'll pilot one of these fearsome fighters through the arcade mode ladder. Very strangely, you can opt to switch characters between fights. You don't even have to lose either. It's not something I've ever seen in a fighting game. Let's take a second to talk about the violence in this game. You spill blood in copious amounts via just normal combat, but like any game that features fatalities, those are the real showmakers. How are the fatalities in this game? Honestly, kinda lame. Let's talk about Senzo and Habaki's fatalities really quick. Habaki's is literally just his victory pose repurposed into a fatality. Also, Senzo's is just a curb stomp. Why the fuck would a ninja do a curb stomp? The rest of the fatalities in this game aren't particularly impressive either. Say what you want about Mortal Kombat and its fatalities, but all of those have unique animations and unique death cycles too. Here in Kasumi Ninja, everything is just super lame. None of this shit even matches up to the basic Sub-Zero spine rip fatal. Let's just get back to the arcade mode, though. The point of arcade mode is to defeat the other warriors and then challenge the final boss of the game, Gyaku, who is just another clone of Senzo and Habaki. Interestingly, you fight Gyaku in a first to 3 instead of the normal first to 2 like you've been doing the whole game. He's not a terribly difficult opponent, so I beat him and the game ends, letting me know that I hadn't sealed the demon portal, so things are still fucked. You'd think killing the demon lord would seal the damn thing, but apparently you can only seal the portal on either hard or the Ninja God difficulty. So I pumped that bitch up to Ninja God and went in for round 2. If you're curious, honestly, Ninja God wasn't really that much harder than the normal difficulty run. I just fireball spammed my way to the end, and it worked, pretty much. The only real difference in difficulty is how many lives you get before the game overs you. On Ninja God difficulty, you get 0. You have to do the whole thing in one go. I get to Gyaku once more and kill him again, then I still get the bad ending? What the hell? What am I doing wrong here? Well, apparently, you're not supposed to kill Gyaku in his human form. You're just supposed to stand there and do nothing, which lets him transform into his final demon form. That is so fucking stupid, I can't even begin to describe it. Why the hell would I let this douchebag just mutate into his final form instead of just, you know, slaughtering him the second I got the chance? The game even encourages me to,
Show no mercy.
and yet when I do, I'm punished with a bad ending. Fuck off, game, really. The second phase of this boss fight sucks ass, by the way. This is what made the Ninja God mode run a nightmare, mainly because of Demon Gyaku's incredibly broken special moves. Most of the time, he'll spam his Earthquake special, which is unblockable and has absolutely ridiculous active frames. If the AI spammed this move on Wake Up, you would have 0 chance of winning this matchup. This should be easily beatable by jumping, but the AI for Gyaku seems to just ignore his recovery frames and will just uppercut you whenever they decide to recover, because he's a fucking cheating asshole. He also has this Fire Breath attack, unblockable too, also comes out very fast. The last move he'll spam constantly is this hit grab, which you have to jump, because if you don't, it's effectively an infinite. It has dominant priority too, so if you try to do anything but block, you will lose to the hit grab. He also has a reflect, so you can't spam projectiles like you did to the rest of the cast, though that's still a pretty effective strategy. It was much easier to rush Gyaku down by spamming roundhouse kicks and throwing in the occasional fireball to keep him out. Eventually I was victorious over Demon Gyaku, and what follows is the most complimentary and lavishing victory screen I have ever seen. I am a Ninja God. It's insane that I've actually managed to beat Kasumi Ninja on Ninja God mode. Everyone around me should erect a shrine and worship me as the god I truly am. The game also reminds me to be humble after stroking my ego to climax. It also tells me that I am an insanely excellent super ultra mega ninja god, and that lastly I should give myself a fat thumbs up if there's anything left of my hamburger thumb. Not entirely wrong there, I can't lie. Boot to menu screen, play it again if you really want to, and that's Kasumi Ninja. Quite the odd title, to be honest, but where does it end up on this list? Well, I think Kasumi Ninja will end up as the new number 14. If I had to sum up Kasumi Ninja, I'd say it's like if Street Fighter 1 was made by the Mortal Kombat team. It feels like a really unrefined Mortal Kombat game, which is really strange considering Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 came out before this one. It's clunky, the fatalities are lame, the characters are odd, and it's really just a shameless Mortal Kombat ripoff in almost every way, which I won't begrudge too hard because, well, you can make a good ripoff game. They just made an abhorrent one here. It's not the worst fighting game ever, but it's definitely one of the worst ever. It's more functional than the games it's above on the list, I could say that much. But now, my friends, I must end this video. As always, dearest viewers, my name is HadesManticore, and this here channel is CityStateManticore. Thanks a ton for watching if you did. Feel free to leave a fat like and a comment too. And be sure to subscribe, because as always, there's more content to come. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.